Have you back. This is the South African Morning right here on ENCA. Now, South Africa has abstained from voting in a UN resolution on Ukraine, and many say this could be seen as an endorsement of the Russian invasion. However, SA diplomats say that the wording does not foster an environment for dialogue. This was not the view of freedom fighters when the, of course, UN resolution against apartheid was taken back in 1962. So let's look at the differences with anti-apartheid activist Father Michael Lapsley, who joins us now to take a look at, South Africa's stance so far on the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Father, thank you so much for your time and good morning to you. Your view and perspective so far on how South Africa has almost communicated their stance on the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and good morning to you and to the viewers. I think the very first statement that was made by Durko was actually very encouraging, because in a very forthright way, we said that the invasion must stop and that the Russian forces must withdraw. And later we seem to have dropped that, and I think it was tragic that at the United Nations we did not join the overwhelming community of nations to say this invasion is morally wrong, contrary to the United Nations Charter, and they must withdraw and go for negotiations. Yeah. So I kind of support the kind of things said by Archbishop Thabo, head of the South African Council of Churches, to say we should, as a country, speak against this violation of the UN Charter and call for an indaba, and of course support the suggestion by the World Council of Churches that we should ask Pope Francis to help dialogue between the warring parties.
Father, if I may ask, what do you think might have made the president almost rescind that initial Durko statement here? Because it seems like following, events such as, the abstention from voting with the UN on that overwhelming number, as you've just mentioned, it does seem like a backtrack here from President Cyril Ramaphosa.
I can't speak for why the president changed his mind, but I think his side, and I think we need to take the advice of our moral icon, Archbishop Tutu, to say that to be neutral in a situation of oppression is to take the side of the oppressor. And that is what is very unfortunate and I think unacceptable to the majority of South Africans, because this is a war that's going to cause immense trauma, not just to the Ukrainian people, but to generations of Russian soldiers who are perpetuating injustice against their neighbors.
Will history judge South Africa on its neutrality?
I think we will be judged for that, but I think that's why it's very important that South African voices say no, just as there are peace marches all across Russia saying no, and just in the last few days, a whole group of Russian priests came out and said no to the invasion. So that will also be remembered, that leaders may have misstepped, but the nation itself, who knows war, says no to war.
In terms of, global perception, where do you think it stands right now on South Africa? We've seen, some concerns being raised around the world around why South Africa is not taking a stance condemning, Russia on this conflict with Ukraine, especially given the history with which South Africa bears. But where does the global perception right now lies in your view of South Africa?
Well, I think we say that we have a foreign policy with a commitment to human rights, but those are the words, but our actions like voting send a different kind of signal, which is very disappointing. And I think people also forget, they say Russia supported us in our history. It's not true. It was the Soviet Union that supported us in our struggle, which included both Ukraine and Russia. So if a brother, a friend commits an act of murder or rape against another brother, we shouldn't keep quiet. We should say, yes, you are our brother, you have supported us, but what you're doing is morally unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, the Deputy Minister, on that note, Father Michael, Deputy Minister of Durko, that is Kenneth Mashego Dlamini, had told the National Assembly recently that it's a matter of principle that South Africa does not take sides. Is that a fair enough argument or response, do you think?
Well, I think we say as a nation we're in favor of justice, which is the same reason why we do and should support the Palestinian people. In a situation of injustice, we have always historically said we are on the side of the oppressed because we have a history of oppression and working for justice. At the same time, as a nation, we believe in dialogue. We believe in Dava. We believe in peaceful ways of solving problems. So we have to hold those two things in tension.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Father Michael Lapsley. Always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for joining us right here on the South African Morning. Anti-apartheid activist, Father Michael Lapsley.